So on the way for you on 102.4 Radio Hartlepool, we've got Radio Hartlepool's crime correspondent, Jen Jarvie from the Crime Institute. Stand by for this one. Right, so we're back. It's 102.4 Radio Hartlepool, and this morning, as promised, the gorgeous Jen Jarvie from the Crime Institute. Good morning to you, Jen.
Good morning and happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, same to you, Chick, and thank you very much for the card. All right.
Well, it wasn't from me, honest.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't. Slid under the door 2 seconds before you arrived. I know.
Oh, you've called me out now.
But Jen, because of your background in crime and sussing things out and private detectiveness and everything like that, can we relate that to Valentine's Day, do you think? Could you do that?
Absolutely. Valentine's Day is one of the peaks, I would say. August is another, but Valentine's Day is one of the peaks for crime-related issues, shall we say. So if you think about it, it's Valentine's Day, you're sat there, you're on your own. It's the one time of the year that anybody that's single really feels it. You can't go to a restaurant, you can't go out for a meal because there's all couples there. Yeah. And it does often spark the image of, right, okay, let's take the bull by the horns. Let's do internet dating. Let's throw ourselves back into the pit.
Because internet dating for us, for me and you, I'm not saying we've been on internet dating or anything like that. Internet dating for me and you is something that's new, really, isn't it? For these young'uns, it's more like their world. They were brought up with it, weren't they?
It is. When you and I were kids, shall we say, you would go to a pub, you'd meet somebody there.
Yep.
Now.
Okay, we're back with Jen Jarvie, crime correspondent from Radio Hartlepool as well. And you are, because every 3 weeks or so, and probably sooner, you're going to be on the radio talking about a different subject. And now today, being Valentine's Day, is a subject that you broached into this morning. We were talking a little bit about in the first chatty bit there, about internet and cyber dating. Is it called cyber dating? What's it called?
Well, internet dating, to people obviously who are going out there and putting themselves out now, it's just general dating. Yeah. It's kind of the norm. But the problem is that unlike years ago, if you had a blind date, you got there, it didn't go well, you left. Yeah. Now it's very much different because a lot of that information about you is out there. Yeah. So obviously, we've had cases before, which I'll highlight one for you because I think it's really important for the people of Hartlepool and obviously surrounding to know kind of these things happen. Yeah. So, young girl goes on a date. These can happen to guys as well. So this just happened to be female. Yep. She goes on a date. She's a young girl. She's got Snapchat. She's got all the socials. She gets there to the pub and meets this chap who isn't who she thinks he is. Right, yeah. Okay, it's not the picture. It's not the person she thought it was. She's kind of a bit embarrassing. She's too polite to say, hang on a minute.
That's a problem, isn't it?
I'm going home, yeah. And this is why one of the things that's been brought in was Ask Angela. Yeah. Now, it's Ask Angela. That does not mean it's just for girls. Yeah. It's not just for ladies.
Explain what Ask Angela is then for us.
Okay, so you go on this date and you're expecting this wonderful Adonis.
You're in a bar or something like that. Yeah. Met them then.
You've met them in a bar. You've met them in a public place, which I would stress. Second date, yes, meet them in a pub. First date, meet them in a cafe in the middle of the day, middle of a shopping centre. Middle Grange shopping centre is the best place to do that.
Good idea.
Little plug there for you. And basically, you get there and they're not who they say they are. They're a little bit uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable. I don't just mean actually they're not my type. You know, I don't find them attractive.
Something's
I don't
different,
mean that. Something's just not right. You have already given them your Snapchat details. Unfortunately, if you haven't got ghost mode on, they then know where you live because you go home and that obviously tracks you back to your house.
No, I never knew that.
Yeah. If you've got any socials, where it has your address on, things like that. So be very careful prior. But you get to that date and they are not who they say they are. There's something not right. You're really uncomfortable. All you need to do is go to any pub, any bar will do this. Go and see the staff and just ask if Angela is on shift.
And they'll know exactly what you're on
about.
They
will know exactly what you're talking about. What they will do is they will safely escort you either out of the building and get you in a taxi.
Yeah, get you away from the situation
or
straight
get you
away.
back to your car, or basically without that person even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I like the sound of this, Angela, already.
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing is, this is open to guys as well.
Yeah.
You know, please don't think that it's just a female issue, because, you know, guys can go on dates, they can get there, they're expecting a 16-year-old.
Even same-sex relationships as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This happened in Darlington a few years ago. A tragic case. A girl goes to meet somebody who she thinks is 16, Ashley. She goes to meet him. It's not him that turns up, it's his dad. And unfortunately, there is no youngster there. It's his dad, and unfortunately, she met a really horrible end. So we've got to be really careful with this.
Brilliant, Jen. Stand by, more from you on. We're just going to touch a little bit on the next subject about Ask Angela. Some questions that I've got about that as well to put to you as well. We're talking about dating. It is, what day is it again, Jen?
It is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day, Jason.
All right, we're back with Jen Jarvie from the Crime Institute and Radio Hartlepool's crime correspondent. Every 2 or 3 weeks or so, you'll be hearing Jen on the radio, on my show, talking about a different subject to do with crime, criminology, this sort of thing. This morning, we've talked about Ask Angela, all right, the help scheme that if you're in a bar, predominantly a bar which serves alcohol, on a date with somebody or somebody's bothering you or what have you, just briefly, what is Ask Angela again?
Ask Angela, you are really uncomfortable on that date, something's not right, you feel a little bit weird, a little bit uncomfortable, you can go to the bar, go to a member of staff and just ask if Angela's on shift.
Yeah, brilliant.
And they will escort you out of the building, or they will escort them, you know, it depends how comfortable you feel.
Yeah.
And don't think that this is just for pubs and bars.
Yeah.
If you go anywhere, you know, it's that well recognised now.
Didn't know.
If you went into a shop or whatever and just, you know, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable, you know, there is help out there, so don't be frightened. If you feel uncomfortable, say. Okay,
you mentioned on the last chatty bit about Ask Angela, you mentioned about can affect both males and females, same-sex relationships as well.
Yeah.
What about age?
Right, so 30 years ago, Jason, you and I, we will have gone to a pub, we will have done the dating, what I would say the traditional way.
Yeah.
Now it's different, but there are a lot of people our age, dare I say this, nearly 50, where they're getting back into the dating game. And obviously getting back into the dating game is the more contemporary way, which is internet dating. So unfortunately, we can come foul of, you know, the same equally. I've had cases before where you've got a lady who's recently widowed and obviously quite affluent, goes back on the dating game and is basically a target for
because you can imagine that's vulnerable, isn't it? That particular person's vulnerable at that stage, isn't she?
Yeah. You know, you get to a certain age as a man and a woman, you know, where, you know, it's you feel as though you're slightly over the hill, but you're not. You're just coming into your prime. That's what I'm saying, because I'm nearly 50.
Do you know what, Jenna? I say, please, I'm not being sexist or anything like that, and you'll understand that I try not to be anythingist, especially on the radio and even in my thoughts and what have you. This can affect anybody of all ages, but however,
it's predominantly women that are the victims, unfortunately.
Do you know what I'm saying in that? Yes, there is some men, but
it's predominant. It's unfortunately, it's like murder. It's predominantly committed by men, and the women are the victims. And you know, I wish it didn't happen at all. Never mind, you know, those statistics. But if you've got a family member who, you know, has just started dating somebody who, you know, you just have this really,
you should ask them everything,
feeling,
shouldn't you? You should, and be honest with them as well and open.
They befriend, they, you know, flatter. It's, you know, it's flattering having somebody younger who's, you know, who's interested.
That's what I was going to say, but I forgot to touch.
It's kind of that Darwinistic thing, and unfortunately. And that's why you say, oh, well, you know, I need this to set up a business. Can you, you know, invest this in my business?
You hear about it all the time.
Yeah. And what I would say is, if your family member if your mum, your sister, your aunt is in that kind of situation, or your uncle, by the way, but it's predominantly female, and you need that conversation. That's where the Crime Institute can come in. We can do due diligence.
How do people get in touch with the Crime Institute? Very quickly, Jen.
So Jen at crimeinstitute.co.uk, or we're on the socials, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. You can Facebook message, or you can come direct to me, Jen Jarvie.
And I know that you're very much like a solicitor when it comes down to it. You give the first hour
is free.
Absolutely free.
If I can help, I will. And obviously, I can tell you what the costing for that's going to be. But if I can't, there might be somebody who can.
Yeah. She'll signpost in the correct direction.
Absolutely.
And I know she's done a lot for Radio Hartlepool, the staff down here as well, on just information and advice. Jen Jarvie, the Crime Institute, Radio Hartlepool's crime correspondent, back in just a tick. This morning, you want a little bit more advice. You're a lovely woman. You've got shoulders as big as the town we're speaking from. Yes. You're wonderful. How do we get in touch with you?
Okay, so you can get in touch with me through any of the socials. So Jen Jarvie, obviously on Facebook, or the Crime Institute on Facebook, or Jen at thecrimeinstitute.co.uk. Basically, look me up. Send me a message. We can go for a coffee, a free consultation. It might be that you feel you're being stalked. It could be you feel your friend's being stalked. I think my husband's having an affair, or I think my partner's having an affair. It could be anything.
Do you know what?
Not just love related.
Do you know what
the
you
darker side.
Add to life? You add the possibility from moving on from a particular subject in one's life positively, in a lot of terms positively, because I know a lot of times you look for something that's just not there, and you give proof, don't you?
Yeah, and sometimes we have had situations where people have come to me and said, I think my husband's having an affair. He's out every night, and for the past 3 months he's been out every night, and they've been absolutely distraught. We've set up surveillance, we've followed, and it turned out that this guy was actually delivering takeaways to earn a bit of extra money to buy her. It was a necklace.
See, that's a positive outcome, isn't it?
It was lovely. It was lovely. Yeah, it was a nice one.
It's like me begging for my missus. Oh, what have you got for my birthday? What have you got for my birthday? And then she tells you, and she spoils a surprise.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think there is an element of distrust there, but sometimes that can actually be created as opposed to actually realistically being
and
there.
It gets rid of any paranoia, even if it is true, the thoughts are true that there is something going on. You've got proof that there is something going on, and it's time then, I think, to pass it. Is it back to them to decide what they want to do with it?
Well, now there's what's called no-fault divorce. So whereas years ago you had to prove infidelity and things like that. Now you don't.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go anywhere to proving things like that or getting them any further. What it does do is give them peace of mind to go, right, okay, this is happening. It's happening to me, and and as I say, I can signpost them not just to solicitors and things like that, which obviously might be the case, but also to things like, right, okay, how are you going to fill your day now? Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about moving on? Have you thought about education? Have you thought about a new job? There's lots of different things that that.
What about mediation, Jen? Because you are, I know you're already a Hartlepool's mediator in a lot of subjects. You are indeed. We come to you for advice, and even if it's nothing to do with like crime or what we've said on the radio wrong or this, that, the other, it can be something in our own personal private lives which has nothing to do with crime, criminality, or something like that. And you are the go-between. Should I report this or should I do this? And you're the go-between to say, well, if it's in your own mind. Mediation, does that work?
Yeah, well, sometimes, obviously, I'm not a marriage counsellor, but I've been married for nearly 30 years myself. There's nothing that I haven't seen outside of in my work situation that I couldn't sort of comment on. The nice thing is that I'm able to do that without judgment, because nobody's squeaky clean. Nobody is in any walk of life or in any situation. So it might be that you might just want, actually, will you come with me to confront this side of a family and this, because we've got a dispute, and be able to chair that, and sometimes that can be sufficient, to actually say, well, actually, you're being out of order, or actually, you have a point, and this is what you need to do.
Yeah, you're full of advice, and you're absolutely brilliant. Our Jen Jarvie from the Crime Institute and Radio Hartlepool's crime correspondent. She's back in just a tick. You've done one more for us, Jen, aren't you?
Lovely, yes, of course.